All right, so obviously one of the big questions that comes up all the time is how old should somebody be before they can be awarded a black belt? And now, granted, my system, my school, we don't do belts. But I have a black belt, and I got my black belt at, was I 16 or 17? I think I was 16 when I got my black belt. And when I went to another school, they're like, oh, were you like a junior black belt? No, I was in the adult class, and I was awarded my black belt in an adult test. And because some schools will hold you off until you're 18, a legal adult in the United States, before you can become a black belt. And I'm going to say this: one, black belt is not particularly special. Black belt's kind of like graduating high school. You know some things, but really now the work begins kind of deal. And when we look at the system, judo, that kind of founded the Dan system and kind of created the belt ranking craze that we have now, they have some notable people in there that all got their black belts as teenagers. Now, one of the very first, Tomita Tsunejiro, he was 18 when he got his in 1883, and he was among the first. But one of his classmates, Shiro Saigo, got his first Dan in 1883 at age 17. So clearly they didn't have that distinction of 18. Now, 18 being the age of adulthood is a fairly modern and fairly American thing, best to my knowledge. So automatically holding people off to 18 is completely farcical, and historically speaking, people being considered adults generally happened even earlier in their teens throughout most of history. So automatically what we're seeing is something that is artificial, and the first wave of guys in judo were teenagers and not adults. And even if Tsunejiro was 18 at that age, he's still a teenager. And we know the brain development doesn't stop till you're in your early to mid 20s. So, technically not even a fully formed human yet. But then we have a couple of particularly notable ones. These guys were kind of, youngest up to that point to have a more advanced black belt position. So Kenshiro Abe had got his first Dan in 1929, and then he got his third Dan in 1931 at the age of 16. So a 16-year-old third Dan, that's actually pretty impressive. And then Masahiko Kimura, where we get the term Kimura, it's a double wrist lock, but whatever, where we get the Gyaku Urikurame, right? Something like that. I don't know the Japanese term, but it's not a Kimura. You don't get to name things after people after it's already got a name. That's stupid. Anyway, Masahiko Kimura got his fourth Dan in 1932 at the age of 15, making him the youngest fourth Dan ever. And so, these are all before kind of the modern era, before we think about McDojos, before we think about people selling rank and all of that. And there are clearly many, many more examples. But the fact is, in the style that gave us the Dan ranking system in the first place, early on, they were awarding people who were teenagers their belt ranks. And why were they doing this? Because these people were actually performing. They were able to compete and defeat opponents in an exemplary manner, because that is really what the black belt meant. I mean, it was literally giving somebody rank so that they could compete at a higher level. And the fact is that all of these guys did so before they were legal adults, at least in the American term of it. So we have to understand that the idea of a teenage black belt is not some aberrant thing, is not some fantasy thing. Should an 8-year-old have a fourth Dan? Well, no, probably not. But the fact is that I don't really have a problem with a 15-year-old with an advanced Dan rank if he was able to compete at that level. Now, by all accounts, he was athletically gifted, he was a big boy, he was a diligent student, so maybe he's not typical. And that would certainly go with the fact that he was the first to do that. That was not typical at that time. But the fact is that these things, like, if we want things like black belts to have any kind of merit at all, then these things have to be held to a standard of achievement and performance, not standards of like age and time served. Time served is a bad marker for anything, and except for whiskey, and and age goes right along with that. There are people who are teenagers who are just gifted and understanding and well performing, and they can clearly earn these rankings. And there are people who have trained for 20 years and are in their 40s and still don't deserve those rankings. Age is not the factor. Age and time served are not the factors. It absolutely has to come down to the ability to perform the skills as learned. So I think I've made my point. So I'm going to talk to you guys later. Good journey. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, give the dog a bone. You can follow us on our other social media accounts. And if you really like us, you can head over to Amazon and buy a shirt. You can also go over to Gumroad and purchase some of our instructional courses. All of the links will be provided and also on our website. If you happen to be in the Phoenix area, we would love to meet you. Come drop in for a class, even just to chat. And if you're looking for a new home, we would be happy to have you. So until next time, good journey.